everybody. Welcome to Chapter 5, Effective Communication. We will be discussing this chapter. Hopefully, it won't take too terribly long. We will be discussing 5 different types of communication styles, apply active listening, demonstrate ethical and respectful interactions with people who experience developmental disabilities. I'm going to share my screen now. If there are any videos in this slide, you should have a URL for them in a sheet that I made for you to search it up. It is expected that you will watch them. So, different communication styles. Does anybody remember the first or last time they met someone who did not speak the same language they spoke? How did you try to communicate with them? Did you speak louder or rather attempt to ignore each other? It's difficult to talk to people who do not speak the same language as you do. But as humans, I think we try to find ways around that language barrier. And especially now with the tools we have on our phones with Google Translate, it makes it a lot easier to be able to understand language without actually having to speak that language, which is kind of a nice thing. So, reflective listening is an empathetic way of listening during highly stressful or emotional conversations. Clarifies and restates what the person says in your own words. It validates the person's feelings, help them to feel safe so they can de-escalate, feeling cared for and heard. An example of reflective listening can be if I was someone being supported. Let's see, I just don't like it. She never does what I want her to do. Lisa can be so stubborn sometimes. And so, as a support, I might say something to the effect of, wow, it really sounds like you're frustrated with Lisa right now. What might it that you're actually frustrated with? What is she not doing? What is she being stubborn about? So that's a way to reflect what has been said. So you listen for the key words, frustration, not doing things, being stubborn. Those are words that we can turn into different words without making them negative. So complete the activity in your toolkit on page 50. And then this video, here's the URL, which you also have to watch it. The videos I put in here are funny, so I'm hoping it'll break up some of the monotony. It's important to distinguish between validating actions and validating feelings. Reflective listening looks for and accepts the person's emotions, no matter how strong, but does not validate negative behavior. For example, if an individual were to say, I wish I could just punch Roger in the face, a reflective listening response might be, it sounds like you're really angry at Roger. How might an individual mistake being told that everything is going to be okay for a lack of acceptance or caring? Should we really tell people that everything is going to be okay? If we don't know, we shouldn't make promises like that. My golden rule is I never tell somebody something that I am not absolutely certain I can follow through with. Integrity is a big deal to me. Integrity is the building block for respect, for trust, and for honesty. If you do what you say you're going to do, when you say you're going to do it, people trust you, they respect you, and they believe you, and they believe you to be honest. So if you say everything is going to be okay, and then it ends up not being okay, is that integrity? Can you think of a time when you felt minimized by someone who was telling you that everything was going to be okay? Why did it make you feel that way? The other thing about telling people everything is going to be okay is it completely ignores the feelings that person is feeling. It's like a feeling squash. It's to squash whatever emotions or feelings that person is feeling, to just get on with it. Like, okay, can we go on now? I hear what you're saying, but it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to squash it so that we can just move on. When someone takes the time to give you their undivided attention and really listen, how does that make you feel? And what impact does it have on your relationship? How often do you think the individuals we support are denied the opportunity to have someone truly take the time to listen without minimizing, judging, or problem solving? Wow, that's huge, isn't it? Kind of makes you think, like, do I do that? Am I that way? It makes me want to pay more attention to the words that I'm using, to the time that I'm spending hearing what others have to say. Because I don't want people to feel like if they talk to me about something, that what they're saying isn't important, or that I'm judging them or problem solving for them. I I don't want to take away their joy of being heard, or the joy of solving their own problems in a non-judgmental setting. When someone takes the time to give you their undivided attention and really listen, how does that make you feel? What impact does it have on your relationship? How often do you think the individuals we support are denied the opportunity? I obviously felt this was important because I put it in here twice. When we're upset, a number of physiological things happen that make it very difficult for us to think logically. Rapid breathing causes imbalance. It doesn't allow us enough oxygen to our brain. The more emotional parts of our brain, such as the amygdala, have heightened activity, while the more logical parts of our brain have decreased activity. If this is true, how can we best help an individual in the midst of heightened emotions? So, how can we do that? I'm going to go back to that slide. I've seen people in a heightened emotional state when I have validated their feelings, when I have reframed or reflected what they look like to me. I have seen them physically de-escalate in their entire body. That is how we can help someone in the midst of heightened emotions. Really be there, present to hear them. And I know I talked about this a lot in positive behavior support, but it is so important to mention again that we take the time to actually hear the needs and wants of the people we support. When we do that, it brings them down to a place where they can actually have a conversation with you. And it is truly amazing to see that happen in action. Just as we follow cultural norms for polite behavior, there are a few little tricks of the trade to help communicate more effectively with people who have disabilities. Don't stumble over your words. If you are speaking to someone who can't see and your comment starts with, "Did you see that?" Move on. The person who can't see gets it. They appreciate you are including them in the conversation. Sometimes it may be appropriate to follow up with a very visual statement. Did you see how yellow and red blended together in the sunset over the sandy beach? Keep your hands in sight, not in your pockets. Hands in pockets build a distrusting relationship. What do you have to hide? Also, when your hands are out, there's no unexpected movement. People know that they're there. They're not grabbing for them. They're not pulling something out of their pocket. Um, it makes it a safe space. Remove barriers between you and the person. If you are behind a counter or desk, move to the same side with the person talking to you. I also want to add to that if you mirror the way they're sitting. So if they're sitting on the table with their hands like this, mirror that. Do that too. Sit your hands on the table just like that. And, look at them. Try to look at them the same way they're looking at you. Mirroring their body and their expressions gives them a safe space to be. A wheelchair is an extension of a person's body. Don't lean on it. Do sit across from the person to help them avoid neck strain, help them to be more comfortable. Be on an even playing field during communication. Don't talk to them from the rear. It means they have to twist in the chair to see you and sometimes to see your face to capture the meaning of the communication. Likewise, keep walkers and canes within easy reach when people sit down. If you must move it away to maintain a safe environment, come back frequently to check in to see if the person needs it. Create a signal they can give you that they need their equipment. So I had somebody I was supporting, and they were able to get around by walking on their um, hands and elbows and scooting across the floor. Oftentimes, he would lie on the floor or he would be hunched over in his chair because of his spina bifida and his cerebral palsy. So instead of talking above him or talking next to him, I would often get on my knees and kneel in front of him and try to get to where he could see my face so he would know my expressions. And sometimes, even when he was playing and he would lay down on the floor, I would lay down on the floor with him and play with him on the floor with his cars and his trucks and his dolls. And after that, when I did that, he was a completely different person with me. He would be so excited to see me. And because he knew that I would do whatever it took to be where he was at. It was so great. Smile, body language, and facial expressions are 80% of communication. Context is important. Use visuals as needed. Tell jokes, share movies, laugh, cry, and be empathetic. but do not assume that everyone is miserable, because they aren't. Effective reflective listening doesn't try to rush forward with a solution. It recognizes the person need to vent and displays genuine interest in the individual. Reflecting a person's feelings back to them is another way of saying, tell me more. So, has anybody ever been in a situation where someone was offered advice or trying to solve your problem when all you wanted to do was vent? How did that feel? Calm you down? Make you more upset? Or you felt in the past when someone has told you, how did you feel when someone told you calm down? How does some of our original anger transfer over to the person who's trying to help us in the situation? Make a list of factors that impact communication and write it on your notes in your toolkit on page 46. With all the factors that impact communication, it's a wonder we actually accurately communicate at all. So in here are a list of different things that impact communication. I'm not going to read through them all. Um, most communication we've learned through trial and error, through tone and pitch and volume, as well as body language. Sometimes we forget how important it is our spoken words match our body language. If our body language and our visual words or our words don't match, then it sends mixed signals, and it makes it difficult to understand, especially for the people that we're working with and the people that we serve. Um, so sometimes we have people we work with who have devices to use for communication, like a computer, a Dynavox, a PEC system, or an iPad. When we use assistive devices, it does take a little bit longer for the people we serve to communicate their needs and wants. It can be frustrating to wait for an answer, but it's important that we practice patience. Some people use spoken language at a slower pace. They have to take time to register the information and make sense of it before they answer back. So it's important, again, to practice patience if we know that that's the case. Sometimes people just need a little bit of time to process the information given so they can make an appropriate verbal statement back. Um, so certain words accentuated can change the meaning of a sentence. I'm not going to go over this too much, but if it's I heard what you said, then we're emphasizing that, yeah, we did hear them. And if I heard what you said, then that might sound sarcastic and that we're just like, yeah, I heard what you said. Or if I said I heard what you said, we might be being accusatory or we might be being defensive. It depends on the context of the conversation, whether you're angry, sarcastic, silly, or making a statement. Emphasis will be where it draws the most attention. Um, and there's two people in a conversation. There is the speaker and there's a listener. Okay, go on page 53 of your toolkit and complete the activity. So echolalia is also another form of communication, and it's kind of like where you parrot words back. So when the people we serve make statements or they parrot our words, it's not up for us to parrot it back. We're not there to just echo back what they've said. We are there to encourage them to speak for themselves. In 47, okay, so here's a video URL that you can watch about nonverbal communication. It's kind of funny. And on page 47 in your toolkit, you can go over nonverbal communication. A lot of the people we support have nonverbal communication. They may not have words, but they have thoughts and desires, opinions, and have a way to express themselves, but it can be difficult to understand. People that we provide services to, you may use sign language, or they may use a modified sign language that they made up themselves and that they learned to get their needs met. Um, just because you know sign language doesn't mean the people we support use it like we do. Yeah, they might make up their own. People who with nonverbal communication will use gesturing, pointing, tapping, facial expressions, laughter, crying, acting out. There's software system. You can select different icons for the same thing. Helps to use one icon to indicate the same action word. So picture exchange is based on personal preference. They might be black and white or they might be in color. If you look in your toolkit, it'll show you examples of what the PEC system looks like. We need to make sure we're taking care of the communication devices and systems for the people we serve, especially if they're unable to. Respect the person's property, especially items used for communication, because it plays an important role in their life. Most people use a computer system called the Dynavox, where it speaks the words for them as they press on different pictures. And I've had people in the past who have used those. It does take some patience to let them go through the motions of typing up what they want to say so we can hear them. So I'm going to kind of skip over this section, but clients can also use cell phones. People have cell phones. Anybody can use a cell phone. So ways to communicate: verbal, body language, nonverbal, written, echolalia, sign language, electronic devices like a Dynavox or the PEC system. There are two parts to every conversation. There's a speaker and there's a listener. Is communication complete if the person listening didn't understand or didn't hear or didn't follow the instructions? No. Sometimes the way we stand or look tells the speaker that they are getting through to us. How do you know you've been heard? Limitations. Some limitations: visual impairments, weak on one side, no use of arms, uses a wheelchair, hearing impairment, unable to stand upright, unable to grasp, difficulty remembering steps, and refusing to participate. Open-ended questions allows others to contribute to finding solutions, allows others to open up and talk about themselves more, increases the level of true listening, builds relationships by increases understanding, can be used to guide someone towards positive choices, and allows the listener to gather more information and understand better. So we always want to try as much as possible to ask open-ended questions. All right, so this is the end of chapter 4. If you have any questions, go ahead and have them ready for the check-in, and I'll see you at chapter 6.